we always said about Clifford, he was so tough he had to choke himself to sleep at nights. So at this time, I'd like to present this ball to Clifford Thrift, one of the Purcell great lifters. We were on the forefront of starting weights. I had to run him out of the weight room at dark so I could go home and eat. Here, Clifford.
Thank you, Coach. I really didn't know that this was going to be this big a deal. I thought I was just going to come here and give the football to somebody and leave. I mean, I really didn't, so I didn't prepare anything to say, but I do have a couple of things to say. And first of all, he was talking about he used to look like me. Well, I used to look like y'all. I mean, I just can't believe, how long it's been since I not only played at high school, but now played in the Super Bowl. I really, really, really do want to go back. I was talking to some of the people earlier, and they did a little interview with me, and I was talking about family. And boy, I know first of all, I'm just really glad that all those doggone phones weren't around when I was in high school. I mean, they could be really, really mean tools sometimes. And I felt like when I was in high school, pretty much everybody got along, everybody liked each other, everybody kind of felt like family. And I think that's what's important. I mean, I really do. And I think, not only the kids right in here, but everybody that plays on that football team, you got to feel like you're part of a family. You're part of something that's bigger than yourself. And you can't ever let that family become less important than the most important thing in your life, because right now it is. Whether you realize it or not, there's things happening to you right now that will follow you for the rest of your life. And when I was here at Purcell High School, well, not here, but down the road a little ways, at the old one, I never really thought that first of all, that I would even have the opportunity to play in the NFL, let alone a Super Bowl. But Coach Bob Holliday, who was the coach my junior year, just before Milton came in, when he was my coach, he actually went to my dad's house and asked my dad if he'd let me come out for football, because I didn't play football my sophomore year in high school because Dad said it interfered with my chores, and my chores didn't get done, then I couldn't play. So Coach Holliday came out to the house and asked my dad if he would let me play. And, I don't think Dad was buying it. He didn't realize how important that was to the coach, to my fellow teammates, and most of all to me. And when the coach convinced him that my chores would get done, and I convinced Dad that my chores would get done after football practice and everything, he agreed to let me play. And boy, am I glad he did. Because I wound up, we won the state championship that year. And then, of course, the next year, we went 8-1-1 and didn't even get an invite. And yet, we still played together. We had a winning team. We had a really, really tight-knit group. And it obviously then gave me the opportunity to go play college football. And Dad really liked that, because that meant they were going to pay for my college education. So Dad agreed, yeah, you go ahead and go do that. He said, but if that didn't work out, then what he really wanted me to do was to go back to the Votech and learn how to be a real good diesel mechanic. Because he said diesel mechanics make good money. America's needs move by truck. There'll always be a demand for a good diesel mechanic. And he said, so I want you, if that football thing doesn't work out, he said, I want you to keep that in mind and think about going back to Votech. And I said, well, Dad, that's great, but I really, not that I got anything against a diesel mechanic, I said, I just don't really want to be one. And Dad said, well, you keep it in mind, because you're going to have to make a living someday, and that's what you need. And I said, okay, Dad, I'll keep that in mind. But thank goodness, I go off to East Central, and as Coach Bassett just pointed out a while ago, I'd made All-State, so I was like, okay, they need me. I just made All-State. And I get there, and I wind up spraining my ankle, hobbling around on crutches. Felt like the coaches were just treating me like trash because I couldn't play, I couldn't even practice, I couldn't do anything. So in the middle of the night, I packed up and decided I was going home. And I'm gonna tell you, I get back home, and my dad said, well, that college thing obviously didn't work out, huh? And I go, well, no, sir. And I said, but I'm still not gonna go to, diesel mechanic school. I don't really want to be a diesel mechanic, Dad. And he said, well, you're gonna get a job, and I mean by tomorrow. And I said, yes, sir, I understand everything. So Otho Green, who has long been passed away, but he was he had a bunch of hayfields just north of this new high school. Just whether you kids know it or not, this used to be all farmland. And just north of here, just a little bit, was a bunch of alfalfa fields. And Otho Green, I used to put the hay up for him. And besides being a farmer and baling hay and all that kind of thing, he was a driller with an oil company. And so I said, Otho, can you give me a job? My dad's about to kick my butt. And I said, I got to get a job pretty quick. And he said, sure, you can come on to work with me tomorrow. So I immediately went to work in the oil fields. And our first rig was out in Anadarko, Oklahoma, up on a frozen platform in December. And I'm looking around, and all these guys bragging about they'd been there 15 years and 20 years and 25 years. And I looked around and I thought, I don't want to be here in 20 years. I said, man, this is not exactly what I had in mind, So what I did, I went back down to Ada, and I went to Pat O'Neill, who was the head coach at East Central at the time, and I said, Coach, I made a horrible mistake by quitting college. I said, if you'll give me my scholarship back, I promise you I won't ever quit you again. And he said, well, we thought you had, some potential when you were here the first time. And said, but bad thing about it, he said, you got to have 24 credited hours next fall, or it doesn't matter how bad you want to play or I want you to play. He said, you can't play. And I said, Coach, I just spent a winter in the oil fields. I can handle it. Promise you, I'll handle it. So he did. He gave me another chance, and boy, am I glad he did. Because then I wound up starting my freshman year, it was actually be my second year in college, but it was my freshman year since I'd run off the first year. And luckily I got that second chance, and I started my freshman year, sophomore year, junior year, and senior year, and wound up, thanks to this man right on the front row, Roy Peck. He was my defensive coordinator and linebacker coach, and just a real good man and a real hard ass. But I'm going to tell you, that's what I needed. And I told him, he left between my junior and senior year in college. And if he would have stayed there, I told him this just a while ago. I said, if you'd have stayed, I'd have still been a better player than I was when I came out. Here's the deal. Anywhere you go, whatever you do, you got to treat the group that you're with, and especially if you're participating in a team sport. But really and truly, kids, I'd like to think that just all of us being on this planet together is another kind of team. And you've got to work together, and you got to treat each other like family. And I think if you do that, if you just remember that wherever you're at, in whatever stage of your life, if you treat the people around you like family, work hard together, be willing to sacrifice, and don't be mean to each other just for the sake of being mean to each other. That doesn't accomplish anything. For you to be a success doesn't mean you got to step on your fellow citizen. So it's not just in football or baseball or basketball or any sport, it's in the sport of life. I really want you to take out of this that at whatever level you're at, high school all the way through, for the rest of your life, you're gonna develop tendencies, whether you're gonna be a quitter, whether you're gonna come back and try again, because obviously, in my case, I got a second chance. And I was very fortunate that I got a second chance, or I'd have never got the Super Bowl ring. And I'd have never had the career that I wound up having. So the big thing, I don't think any one of the coaches that here that I've played under will say I didn't work hard. I'm not going to be silly enough to say I didn't make mistakes. I made plenty of mistakes. But the key, I think, is everybody's going to make mistakes, but that doesn't mean you stop trying. You try harder. You correct the mistakes. This is not, again, not only in football, but this is in life.